Well, welcome everybody to this week's webinar. It's great to see everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. I am Bruce Rosenblatt. I am the owner of Senior Housing Solutions. If you don't know who I am a senior housing advisor. I am pretty much the foremost authority on senior housing in Southwest Florida. I've been doing this for over 30 years. So I have a lot of experience working with a lot of different people on senior housing. It's interesting. I get asked a lot, Bruce, when is the right time? When should I start thinking about this? And so I have a saying that I'm probably going to, copyright at some point, that it's better to be 5 years too early rather than 5 minutes too late. And this week I have seen so many situations just like that, where people have waited too long and, are in more of a reactive mode versus a proactive mode. So, I encourage you to try to be proactive, to reach out to me, to, see if I can help in any way. It does take some planning. It does take some due diligence. And, you just don't wake up one morning and say, okay, Bruce, help me find a place. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some, a process. So I would encourage you all to do that. Because I have been in this area for over 28 years, I've had the opportunity to meet some wonderful people, and so these webinars are pretty much an extension of that, where I can, introduce you to people who I feel, have a lot of information to share, who we share common interest. And one of those people is actually our presenter today, Deb Logan from the Blue Zones. Deb and I have known each other for many, many years. My company is a Blue Zone certified organization, and she was there during the ribbon cutting. So it's we have some mutual interest, and I fully embrace the Blue Zones project, and my wife and I, we try to live by the Blue Zones philosophy. And so I'm going to let Deb take it from here. She has a lot of information to share, and hopefully you all will enjoy what she has to say. At the end of this, I'll unmute everyone, and we'll do a question and answers if you want to ask Deb some questions. So Deb, the show is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bruce. And thank you everyone for attending. It's certainly my pleasure to be with you this morning and to talk about something really kind of staying on Bruce's theme of proactive. During these uncertain, unprecedented times of the pandemic, I think we feel more now than ever the importance of boosting our well-being or being resilient. We all know the statistics out there that, if we're not as healthy right now and we get COVID, we have a chance of getting a little sicker from it or worse. So, how do we really take care of ourselves so that we can combat any stress, let alone a pandemic? And so that's why I thought we'd talk about today a little bit. You might have heard a presentation or watched a presentation by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Musafarian. He is a cardiologist as well as the Dean of Nutrition Science and Policy at Tufts University. And he shares, I think, an interesting way of looking at what's going on right now. We've had a slow pandemic occurring in this country for the last 30 to 40 years. And that slow pandemic has been the acceleration of chronic diseases, whether that's diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, overweight, or obesity. Those numbers have been going up, and it's been gradual. So it's something that we really haven't put a lot of attention on. I mean, we try, right? But it hasn't gotten the news that the virus has, which would be considered a fast pandemic. It comes in out of nowhere. It's scary. It has the potential to, unfortunately, kill people, and it certainly has uprooted our economy. And so Dr. Musafarian talks about the fact that because we've ignored the slow pandemic, and I want to add in not just chronic disease, the other things that have been occurring, Our mental health issues, the last couple of decades, mental health issues, whether it's loneliness and isolation all the way to more severe issues with our mental health, but we know those are accelerating as well. And we know that diversity in economic diversity, social diversity has also changed up in the last several decades. So these things are all coming together. And as he says, only about 12% of our population right now in the United States is metabolically fit. And that means really fit enough to probably be those folks that get COVID and don't feel the impact. And if we're not as fit, again, we're likely to get sick from it and, you know, maybe hospitalized. And I don't want this to be a scare story today. We all get way too much of that, but I really want to turn it into a positive. What can we be doing when we really feel right now we don't have as much control over our lives as normal? And so if we talk about boosting well-being, we're really boosting resilience. And you can see on this wheel, we think about physical health, but there's also the mental health aspects and social well-being. Social well-being, you know, our Surgeon General, the past Surgeon General talked about loneliness and isolation being a huge risk in our country, even riskier than smoking tobacco, as he put it, which you don't want to start doing. But nonetheless, we know that 1/3 of all seniors are waking up, they report that they wake up lonely. And we know that our loneliest age group is actually the 15 to 24-year-olds. And so we have a crisis with social well-being, and then COVID comes in and it makes it even more complicated. Financial well-being, sense of community are also really important aspects of this. And so, you know, understanding that all of these go into resilience and well-being is really what I want us to think about. And normally with the Blue Zones Project presentation, we go through a lot of details about how organizations and individuals can get involved. I'm more interested in sharing with you today a little bit about the project and what we're doing, but a lot about, you know, how you can build your resiliency during this time. We all hope that things would be back to normal by now, and yet now we're kind of figuring out that maybe we will be living with this virus for a while. So what can we do while we're in this situation? And let's see. Sorry, I tested my slides in advance. Sorry, y'all. There we go. Okay, so Blue Zones Project, some of you may already know about it. Basically what it is, it's a community-wide well-being initiative to help people live longer, healthier, happier lives. And we do this by working with individuals, organizations, and policy leaders to help make healthier choices easier in the community. It's possible because of NCH Healthcare System, they sponsor the project 100%. So everything we do in the community is free. And really what NCH said several years ago when they started investing in this project is that, you know, the slow pandemic of chronic disease, they felt responsible that we need to do something about that. Healthcare costs are exorbitant for everybody, individuals, businesses, the community, and of course the country. So if we could slow down chronic disease or prevent chronic disease, that would be helpful for everyone. And hence why they decided to fund Blue Zones Project. And Blue Zones Project is a well-researched initiative. It actually started several years ago when Dan Buettner, a longevity researcher, got a grant from National Geographic, and along with a dozen other longevity experts, they went around the world looking for where people live the longest and healthiest. And they found 5 places in the world that you can see on this map. In Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Icaria, Greece, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and then Loma Linda, California. And they found this is where people are not only living longer than the average American, but they're living healthier. Their last 6 months of their life is the part where the quality tends to go down, not the last 6 to 10 years, which is a little more common for the average American. So I'd like to share with you some of the things that they found, some of the lessons learned from these individuals, because they apply to us right now more than ever. And so they did thousands of interviews to find out what these secrets are. And I'm going to share about some people from Loma Linda because they feel more like us. We're not going to move to Sardinia, or probably not relate as well to someone from Okinawa and to raise our well-being. But California can feel like us. They have fast food, they have cell phone service all over, they have traffic, you know, much more than we do. But nonetheless, they feel more like us. So let's take a look at some of those interviews. This is Marge Jardone. Marge, when Dan Buettner interviewed her, he spent a half a day with her, and to see what she did. What is her routine? So she wakes up every day, and she's a woman of faith. So she reads her, her Bible and starts her day off with her spirituality. Then she has her breakfast of champions, which is a bowl of oatmeal and nuts and some soy milk. She follows that with a prune juice shooter, which could very well be one of the secrets. And then she pumps iron, you know, just keeping her core strength strong. She rides an old stationary bike, nothing really fancy. She does that, and then she jumps into her Cadillac. And on this day, she was taking Dan to one of the 7 places that she volunteers every month. And today she was going to take him to the old folks home. So at 105, she was going to help take care of people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And so she has this purpose, a reason to get up in the morning. On this particular day, she, at a stoplight, she loosened up her seatbelt a little bit, scooched over to Dan and said, "Dan, I feel sexier at 105 than I did at 104. So she's also got that spirit, right? That attitude that, that keeps us, boosts our well-being, I should say. So that's Marge. Now, an example of a man coming out of Loma Linda is Ellsworth Warren. This gentleman is a multimillionaire, but he wanted to put a privacy fence around his property, and he got the quote. And we all get quotes on things today, and it seems like the price jumped 2 or 3 times what we ever expected it should be. So he said, forget it, I'm gonna do it myself. So he spent 3 days digging the holes, pulling the lumber in, putting the cement in, and he put together a privacy fence. And as you might expect, on the 4th day, here he is in the operating room in open heart surgery. But he's the surgeon that you see on the left-hand side of the screen. He had purpose. He continued to do open heart surgeries. He's 97 in this picture, but until he was 98, he did 20 surgeries a month. Again, he had a reason to get up in the morning. They say if you have a reason to get up in the morning, you wake up more mornings. He also had grit and determination, right? The guy who's going to do his own fence because it's too expensive. Another example, and this is not Loma Linda, this is Okinawa, but it's an important point, especially right now during COVID. This group of women have known each other basically all their lives. And if we go back in our country, maybe 30 years ago or so, a lot of us grew up with our friends in our neighborhood, and we knew each other at least through high school, and we became tight friends. In Okinawa, with these women and their generation, they stayed friends their entire life. They didn't go off to college or move away. And you can imagine how strong those bonds are. They are truly best friends. And there's quite a few of them in this picture. It's almost like if you actually look around, you find more than you thought. But they are what they call in Okinawan a moai. And that's a group of people that come together to support our well-being. And Framingham, research in this country did a study on best friends. And they found that just about 25 years ago, the average American had 3 best friends. These are friends that will tell you off if you're going down the wrong path, right? And we accept it. They're people that are really with us through thick and thin. We can argue with them and still be friends, and we can also be there for each other during tough times. So just 25 years ago, we had an average of 3. Today, think about your own life even, and think about that kind of friend. We have friends, but how many best friends? And the average American is 1.5 now. And that's actually considered at risk of loneliness and isolation. And again, knowing what we know, how risky that is to our health, and knowing that COVID shuts us down even more, it is really a concern. So that's something in Blue Zones Project that we really pay attention to try and connect people and help build those friendships and connections. These are the traits or the principles that, the total collective commonalities, I should say, of those places in the world where people live longer, better. So they're called the Power 9 principles, and the things they had in common is that they tended to move naturally. And so it wasn't necessarily a gym membership, which, you know, if you go to the gym, great. Right now it's a little harder to do that. But these folks tend to find ways, like walking to a neighbor's house, if you can do that. You know, if they had a car, they parked further away, gardening, just naturally moving the muscles without really thinking about it every day. And as we go through these 9 principles, kind of do a scan of your own life right now. Maybe before COVID, it felt different, but now that we're a little bit more inside our homes and trying to stay safer, you know, what does it look like for you? And are there ways, as we go through these, that you could massage this to be a little healthier? Are there some things you could do for yourself? So sense of purpose, we know people who have a sense of purpose tend to live on average 7 years longer than people who don't. And again, think about before COVID. You know, purpose might have been volunteering somewhere, or it might have been watching grandkids, or just something that is more difficult to do right now. So there are people right now, it's called a triggering event when we lose our purpose. Like pandemic is certainly a triggering event, changes our life. And so how do we find our purpose right now? And what is that? And I'm going to share a little bit more about that later. Downshifting, where people live longer or healthier, they find ways to downshift in their day, like simple things. And it might be, you know, calling a friend. It could be watching a sunset. It could be taking a walk. There are various things we can do, but ask yourself again, what are those things that I'm doing? Could I do more of that? Right now, many people are in their homes and we turn on the TV for company and we get a barrage of the same old negative information. It's kind of a dangerous time to have the TV on more versus less. So what are some other ways we can downshift? 80% rule, where they live longer, healthier, they tend to push away from their meal before they're 100% full. We don't want to be overstuffed, and therefore it keeps their weight down just a little bit. Plant slant, they tend to eat more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, lentils, really important for all kinds of illnesses and prevention of illness. So plant slant, wine at 5 or friends at 5. It's probably more about the friends than it is about the wine. We know there's antioxidants in wine, but we do have to be careful with that one. The benefit of having a glass of wine with a meal and friends is really probably more that we're chatting, we're downshifting by, you know, sharing our lives and de-stressing. We don't want people necessarily drinking home alone. And then if you've gone to Italy or places where they might have a glass of wine with a meal, it's often like a juice glass. It's not this goblet that we tend to have more so here. And it's 1 glass for women and 2 for men if you do drink. If you don't, the friends at 5 with a cup of tea is absolutely perfect as well. So it's about camaraderie. And then family first, interesting, where people live longer, better, they prioritize aging. And they keep their families together when at all possible. And now we know that that has to be more by Zoom or FaceTime or phone calls, especially not just COVID, but because people live far apart, families tend to. But they actually, if we live to 80 or 90 or 100, you're actually looked at as someone who can share, you know, 80 years or 100 years of wisdom. So you're actually really appreciated in the community. In the United States, our social equity, think about it for a second. What age does our social equity peak out? It's about 25 to age 30. And you can tell that by looking at magazine covers. Who we value aging, we value youngness. And yet really where people are healthier about this, they focus on family and they look at aging as a good thing. Belonging, very interesting. If you attend a faith-based organization 4 times a month, it could be any faith, it can be non-traditional faith, but you can live 4 to 14 years longer according to longevity experts. Right now it's hard to go to a service, but there's a lot of virtual opportunities. And so just something to consider. Right Tribe is really that group of ladies, the Moai. They come together and they connect. And you all have a little bit of that. By following Bruce every week and you come together, you're learning something new, you know, or at least reinforcing something you know, maybe. You know that, we know that improves well-being, just learning, but then connecting, getting to know people on the call and maybe getting to know them outside of the call even. is really important, right tribe. So Dan Buettner and the longevity experts were asked, okay, that's really interesting, but how do I apply that to my life, or how could I make my community healthier? And so they came up with, well, first they researched a lot, and this might be something fun to do during COVID. We make over 250 health-related decisions every day without even thinking about those decisions. You know, we brush our teeth, we decide whether we're gonna have breakfast or not, do we take that walk, do we call a friend, you know, whatever it may be. There's lots of decisions. And you might want to actually kind of do a journal and say, what are those decisions I'm making? And are there any that I could maybe make a little bit of a healthier choice? Kind of a fun thing to do during this downtime of COVID. But they found that we make all these decisions, and historically, public health has said, if I educate you enough, incentivize you, or guilt you, you will stop smoking, you will eat better, blah, 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 right? These different health things. But the truth of the matter, that doesn't work well for everybody. Some people, yes, you know, like Ellsworth Warren, who has a lot of grit and determination, yeah, maybe it would work well for him. But most of us, we find, because we do have this slow pandemic of chronic disease rising, we know it's not working as well as we'd like. So what they found is actually, if you impact the environment where people live, play, educate, shop, etc., you can help change or help make healthy choices easier. So in Blue Zones Project, we think about our home environment. If right now we're bringing in a lot of comfort food, then we're going to be eating more comfort food, right? And what we bring into the house. Our social networks, how are we keeping our social networks going right now? Are we reaching out to other people? Purpose and can we still volunteer? Whatever it is that gives us purpose. Taking a look at those things. But then places are really important. Where we go to shop, where we work, restaurants that we go to, schools, faith-based organizations, homeowners associations. There's an environment in each one of those that impacts whether we make this choice a healthy choice or not. And so we work in Blue Zones Project, we work with all those organizations and give them a booklet of best practices that they can pick and choose from. And normally this presentation, I'd go through each one of these and share really what they can do. But today we're really talking more about individual resiliency, so I don't have time to go through all of that. But I'll show you before we finish how you can hear that whole presentation if you've never heard it. But we also work with policy in Blue Zones Project, and that would be food policy, food access, healthy food access, tobacco and clean air, and then walkability and bikeability, so that people do feel welcome to go outside and move naturally. Okay, so we work with all these different organizations, and what we've been doing over the last, we're in our 6th year, is we have over 700 organizations that are now engaged in the project. So they're helping to make the environment healthier for people who interact with them. And you can see the list there and how many people are really being touched through those organizations at this point. And there really is power in the we, all of us coming together. One is individuals, if we say, hey, I can look at my own life and see if I can make healthier choices, but also the organization saying, how can I help nudge healthy choice too? I don't take any choice away, but how do I make options there? And then policy leaders also looking at walkability and bikeability and things like that. We were 73rd healthiest community in the nation just 9 years ago. We brought Blue Zones Project to the area in 2015, and we've been the healthiest community for 4 years running. Now, there's a lot of factors. It's not Blue Zones Project, it's the we of everybody coming together to say, hey, together we can do this. So it is powerful, but today we're really talking a little bit more about you as an individual. Chances are you might be part of a homeowners association or some club or faith-based organization. So I'm gonna only share this one versus go into the schools and the work sites and things like that. But to give you an example, what would they do to nudge well-being in a positive way? We know that when we go to our club or our faith-based organization, often after service, there's often coffee and a pastry, you know, donuts or something like that. We just ask that organizations like that consider, hey, what about having a bowl of fruit too? Don't take away the pastries, but have both, have an option, or have healthy muffins, something like that. We encourage them to get their folks together in groups, and there are those moais that we talked about. Traditionally, they walk together or they potluck together or something like that. Again, that's kind of hard during COVID to do that. You have to be very careful if you decide to do that. So we have virtual moai opportunities now, which I'll share in a minute. But we also give them tips and things that they can put in their newsletters and their e-blasts that help, remind people about some ways to live healthier. So that's just an example. But let's focus on the individual and focus on everyone in the room today. How can I build my own resilience? And again, we're looking at that wheel that includes all the elements of well-being that build resilience. And one of the ways I mentioned before is purpose. What is my purpose? How has it changed during COVID? Really important to take a look at that. It can be the difference between having an attitude of gratitude every day when we wake up, or feeling like really frustrated and starting to get depressed over the situation that we're in. If we wake up with a reason every day, it makes for a better day. So our purpose workshops are now virtual. They're only an hour now. They're usually 2 hours when you meet in person because there's a lot of social interaction, but now they're an hour, and it's a Zoom like this. And you walk away with thinking about, during this time, what is my purpose and how can I better connect with it? It's really well worth that hour, 1 hour that we're not watching cable television and getting more bad news. Also connecting. Now this is a group that, again, pre-COVID, they were what we call the MOI, and they ended up volunteering together. And really, it is about volunteering, yes, or about walking or whatever they do together, but it's more about that they start to get to know each other. You're talking, you find commonalities and start becoming better friends. And connection, again, is what most people are looking for their social well-being. So how could you find out more about these activities that we're doing? Because again, we have many, many activities that are now virtual to help support the Power 9, or those principles to live longer, better. One is you can Google our website, and I would just Google Blue Zones Project Southwest Florida. Don't Google Blue Zones Project, because we have 51 communities throughout the country, and you might end up in Salinas, California. And we'd rather that you come to our event locally and get the information that's local. But anyway, Blue Zones Project Southwest Florida. So you can go to our website. There's a sign up right when you get there. And what that does is it gives you our e-blast of all the activities that are going on that you can get involved in virtually, but it also gives you a newsletter once a month. You can unsubscribe at any time. We don't sell emails, I promise you that. We just keep it local, and you can unsubscribe very easily from us. But you can go there, but you can also, I'll show you, well, let me show you some of the activities. Right now, the way we've shifted, if you will, is we're offering some Move Naturally activities and downshifting. Tai Chi, yoga is another one that's like that. You can do this online. We're also offering for Move Naturally some low-key fitness activity with Nino Magadino. These are all partners in Blue Zones Project. Everything is free that they're doing for us. The Plant Slant, a lot of us are cooking from home now, and so we've got some great cooking demos. Some are some local individuals, but we also have some chefs from restaurants that are sharing how to cook some really interesting dishes, and easy too. We've got online Power 9 activities, and if you go to this, what it will do is give you an activity every week. And if you've got family that you're Zooming with, or FaceTime, or even calling friends, etc., it gives you, as a group, every week something you can practice, just something fun. It kind of helps build conversation, or you can do it alone for that matter, but it's a new idea every week. The Live Longer, Better presentation, if you want to hear this full presentation, there's a way to sign up for that. The purpose workshops over here, you can sign up for. Volunteering events, we're doing less of those right now, but we do have a few activities that we check out to make sure they're safe, and then offer those to the community who want to come out with a mask and gloves. On here, I'm going to send this to Bruce to forward on to you all, but basically what you do, if you get this link from him, you would tap this link, and let me see if it's going to work for me here. Yeah. So what it will do is it just asks you for your name, first name, last name, email, and zip code, and then you hit the submit button. And then you will get our activity letter and our newsletter monthly. Again, that's just a different way if you don't want to go to the website. It's actually maybe a little easier. Let me see if I can get out of that, but not out of the presentation. Yeah. I think the presentation will come back up, but I can walk us through it in case it doesn't show. Let's see. Yeah, so the other link that's on there that you'll get is it actually opens up to the e-letter that has the activities. I showed you on the slide the different activities, but it will show you them all listed, and you click a link, like it's an Eventbrite. You click a link and you get into the cooking class, or you get an invite to the cooking class, which will be a link as well. And again, all you're doing really is signing your name and email address so we can get the information back to you. And it's free. Some Eventbrites, if you've ever used Eventbrite, you know, you're going to a play or something, there's a charge. These are all free, just to remind you of that. I'd like to get that presentation back, but I don't know where it went. I think it's right here underneath. Sorry, 1 second. Yep, there it is. And so this is a cartoon, obviously. And by right, we are wearing our masks, we're washing our hands, we're doing everything we can do right now. And we're hoping for a vaccine, and we want to line up for that vaccine when it comes out. But it's kind of interesting. It goes back to Dr. Musafarian's comments that I shared with you earlier. This is also a time that we could be in line at the other window as well, and looking not necessarily just at our diet like it suggests here, but looking at, you know, how am I doing those principles? You know, how am I connecting with people or finding ways to connect? How am I living on purpose right now? Finding gratitude, different things. So, and what I suggest, there's lots of opportunities in the community, but if those Blue Zones activity makes sense to you, we'd love to have you participate with those. And also, why do we do it? In this picture, we've got a lady by the name of Kamada-san. She's Okinawan, and she's holding her great-great-great-grandchild. And when she was asked, what's it feel like to hold your great-great-great? And she said, it's like leaping into heaven. And these are things that we can't do so easily right now, as far as holding our greats or holding our friends' kids or touching our you know, anyone who's outside of our household right now, right? We can't hug our friends. And so, one, we want to get resilient and get through this and anything else that comes down the pike, down the road. And we want to set our future generations up for good success too. If we could move our population from only 12% being metabolically healthy to back to where we were 30, 40 years ago, where the majority of people were metabolically healthy, our kids, our grandkids, et cetera, are also going to be much better off. So I thank you again for letting me share this information with you today. I hope that there's something in here that you might check out later and see if it's meeting a need for you. And I'm happy to entertain questions or comments.
Deb, thank you so much. Very, very informative, very interesting. I'm inspired. So thank you so much for sharing all this great information. I am going to open this up for questions. I'm going to unmute everyone. So if you have a question, maybe you just want to raise your hand, or, hey, Mitchell, hold on. Hold on, Mitchell, can't hear you. Go ahead, Mitchell.
Deb, relative to, there was a slide in your presentation about the number of partners that has. I want to say that was, what, 215 or something like that. Is that in Naples, that number of partnerships that Blue Zone has established, where you say like the 115 restaurants, et cetera? Is that our local community?
Oh, very good question. Because I think I failed to tell you what Southwest Florida means to our project. NCH funded this project for all of Collier County and Bonita and Estero, so South Lee is what that's representing. So 700 organizations in that project area are at this point.
All right, good, thank you.
Oh, sure.
Hi, Deb.
Yes, hi.
Hi, sweetheart. It's Bernadette LaPalia. And are you saying that thanks to NCH, anyone can become a member, or any organization can become a member with no fee?
Absolutely, right. You know, they really want more organizations to help nudge the healthy choices, make healthy choices available. So it's completely free. There's no cost.
But otherwise it would be.
Oh, well, otherwise there wouldn't be a project. We're in 51 communities throughout the country, and it always takes a sponsor to fund the project. We, in addition to working with work sites organizations and individuals and policy leaders, we also hire Gallup to oversample all the zip codes in Southwest Florida to look at that resiliency wheel and look at well-being in each of the areas. Is there purpose? Is there financial well-being, et cetera? And that's kind of our guidepost to tell us where we need to put more resources or what partners we need to bring in to help fill the gap. We want to keep Southwest Florida healthy, and so part of what the sponsor funds is also that surveying, which is kind of expensive because it is an outside company doing all the surveys. We also bring in national experts that help our policy leaders with food policy, built environment policy, you know, walkability, bikeability, things, traffic flow, things like that. So yeah, it actually takes a sponsor. If someone lives outside of the area, the beautiful thing, a silver lining of COVID, is that if you've got friends or family anywhere else in the country and you give them the link, they can come, they can participate in the virtual. Okay, before we did, say, workshops, purpose workshops, we'd have one, I don't know, at the Bonita Library, and so people who live nearby could go, but if I lived in Minnesota, I wasn't gonna be able to come to that purpose workshop. Today, you can offer it up to anyone.
Beautiful. And also, did you say that prior to this implementation, the Naples community or Southwest Florida was ranked 17th and now it's #1? Did I hear that
actually, right? So 9 years ago, Collier County, they don't, it's an MSA study. Gallup does it. MSA stands for Metropolitan Service Area. And they defined our area as Collier County. They don't have South Lee tied into it. So what we know is Collier County was 73rd healthiest community in the nation 9 years ago. In the last 4 years, it's been the healthiest community in the nation.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Who was the first at that time when we were the 73rd? Do you happen to know?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I know that Salinas, California has been healthy, has been neck and neck with us at times. There's some communities in Colorado. Colorado is the healthiest state, Hawaii is the healthiest state. When they do a statewide, it's the healthiest, and Colorado is one of the healthiest. So some of those areas, I would guess, were 9 years ago or so, were healthier than us.
But in the meantime, we've blown everybody out of the water.
We've done really well. Yeah, we have. And of course, COVID, you know, throws a bit of a monkey in the wrench. It's happening to all of us across the world, but we want to, you know, the reason we went virtual is because we don't want to lose ground. It's so important now more than ever that we still connect and do these, you know, healthy things for ourselves.
Yes. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Blue ribbon presentation.
Oh, thank you.
So, you know, it's great that all of you are part of my Moai, and you're part of my, definitely my purpose. And so it's very exciting that you all are part of this and that you continue to join in on these webinars. Deb, thank you so much. Very, very interesting. I will be sending everyone a recorded version of this webinar, so you'll have that. Next week, I'm very excited about our presenter. It's Dr. Jackie Pfaffer from the Naples Senior Center. So she's done a tremendous lot in this community, so I'm sure she'll have a lot to share with everybody. And so please join that. And then I'm going to go on a little vacation. I need to downward shift myself. So after next week, I'm going to take a little break, and my wife and I are going to check out for a little while. So, you know, but please join us next week. And I'm working on September's calendar as well. So great to see everyone. Be well. And Rita, you have a question? Hold on, hold on. Hold on, Rita. Okay,
I
go ahead.
missed where Deb said how you can get on your mailing list. So where is that?
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'll send through Bruce, I'll send, so he can forward it on to all of you, a link. All you'll have to do is, when you receive it, touch that link and it'll ask for you for your information and you'll get on our mailing list.
Thank
Thank-
you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Be well, be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.